far what we have discussed are theories of the origin of universe, that is Big Bang. For that, origin of earth हुआ. From origin of earth we started origin of life. Origin of life में सबसे पहले we saw theory of creation, वो 3 points वाला theory. Then we saw theory of panspermia, life coming from outer space. Then theory of abiogenesis, which is also called spontaneous generation, right? Life coming from non-living matter. उसको disapprove किया लुइस पास्चर ने, उसका जो experiment था, ठीक है? He gave law of biogenesis, that life can come only from pre-existing living matter, right? And to solve the question that where has first life came, Oparin and Haldane gave the theory of chemical evolution. So chemical evolution has given rise to first life. Obviously, Oparin Haldane ka theory was having support from the experiment which is done by Miller and Urey. See? So now from there we move to theories of evolution of life. Origin of life हो गया. अब एक बार originate होने के बाद life evolve कैसे हुई, ठीक है? So now for evolution, theories of evolution of life. Amongst the theories, we first take up the theory which was given by Lamarck. Right? He was a French naturalist. Lamarck was a French naturalist. And he gave, and it is before Darwin. He was the era before Darwin. That means ऐसा नहीं है कि evolution as an idea was thought only by Darwin. Now he said that evolution occurs by use and disuse of organs. He was of the opinion that continuous use of an organ leads to development of that organ, and those changes are passed on to the next generation. So that is inheritance of acquired character. यानी use करने से you will have acquired a character, and that character gets inherited in the next generation, and so on so forth. The organ starts developing till the moment it becomes a completely new species. Now to support his theory, right, we cite two examples. One example for use of an organ, one example for disuse of an organ. Now for use of an organ, he gave example of giraffe. Giraffe का example दिया उसने. He said the original giraffe was the size of a deer, and the area, the habitat where it was staying, the vegetation, the food, the plants, the grass was on the ground. So it was very fine for it. But due to some environmental changes, it had to migrate. Now it migrated to an area, the plants were available only at a height. So to reach those, it had to stretch its neck, right? Stand on its forelimbs, right? You have to stand on your toes to reach at something at the height, isn't it? Kitchen में वो छुपा हुआ डब्बा ढूंढने के लिए, है कि नहीं? So it had to stand on its forelimb, extend its neck to reach the plant, right? So this action, which was done repeatedly, day in, day out, again and again, led to widening of the vertebrae of the neck. That is according to Lamarck. So is this a character which it acquired now? Yes. Right? It is. So this character was passed on to the next generation. And again, for example, first generation में lengthening maybe 1 millimeter 2 millimeter हो गया, वही next generation में pass हुआ, तो उसका और थोड़ा बढ़ गया. So down the line in generations, it gradually started increasing till we have the present day giraffe. So this was use of an organ which led to development of a new species. Now obviously when use is proved, he has to prove disuse also. So if according to Lamarck, use is leading to development of an organ, disuse should lead to degeneration of an organ. So to explain disuse, he cited example of snakes. Well, snakes were reptiles with limbs, but to save themselves from predators, they had to crawl on their bellies and hide into small burrows and all. So they were not being able to use their limbs for a very long time. And gradually they got degenerated in generations, and today we are having snakes which are limbless reptiles. So use and disuse was the theory which was given by Lamarck. Now this theory was prevalent for quite a long time, till there came a person by the name of Weismann. Now Weismann was working or trying to see the theory of Lamarck, and he performed a small experiment. Right? एक छोटा सा experiment किया उसने. Right? He understood inheritance of acquired characters. Right? Weismann, he took a small rat and he cut off the tail. So now this is an acquired character. So according to theory of Lamarck, the next generation of rat should be born without a tail. He tried this for 20 generations of rats, and every time the rat was born with a tail only. Right? And subsequently he tried different mechanisms to see if acquired characters can be go down in inherited in generations, but he could not find. So uska conclusion kya tha? He says why this theory is wrong. This theory is wrong because we organisms have two types of cells. One which are somatic cells, the body cells, and the other which are germ cells. He says the changes in the germ cells can be inherited in generations. The changes in somatic cells cannot be. So ये जो change आपका use की वजह से आ रहा है वो somatic cell में आ रहा है. तो वो inherit नहीं हो सकता. It cannot be inherited. And hence this theory was proved wrong. Right? And anyway, this was a pure conjecture and just a figment of imagination with no scientific backing. Mind you, Darwin used the same example to prove his theory. Giraffe wale example to prove his theory. The second theory is Darwin. And we all know Darwin, the theory is called as theory of natural selection. Now why so? Now see, Darwin, he was from England, and he was in that era when the English Empire was very strong. You know, history में पढ़ा रहेगा. The sun never sets on the British Empire. उसका मतलब क्या था? They had colonies all over the world. So practically everywhere in the world they had a colony. वो लोग they believed in colonization. So उनका proforma क्या था? They went as traders to do business, and slowly they started gaining control. Right? So what was happening is they had a lot of trade going on between the colonies and their home country. तो उनके यहाँ से voyages बहुत सारे होते थे, ship के voyages बहुत सारे होते थे. And by rule prevalent that time, every time a ship left the country for a long voyage, there had to be a scientific advisor there on the ship, right? A naturalist, because the ship used to make stops. So whenever they make a stop on an island which was unidentified, so they get down, they study the different types of organisms just for record keeping. So Darwin, they set out on a voyage on a ship by the name of HMS Beagle. HMS Beagle was the name of the ship on which they set out. And Darwin was appointed as a naturalist on that ship. He was appointed naturalist. So he was the one who was in charge of getting down and exploring areas for discoveries. Okay. छोटा सा fun fact. छोटा सा fun fact. On the ship, you have different ranking system, the captain of the ship and so on and so forth, right? The lowest category are the ones who are just for wiping off the deck and all that, right? The lowest, jhadu pocha types. On HMS Beagle, one of the cadets, ekdam lowest, jhadu pocha types, was a person by the name of Napoleon. Napoleon, right? Who later on obviously became a very big person, right? He was in the same ship as Darwin. Now this stopped at an island, Galapagos. Yes, क्या हो गया ना? What is so funny about that? याद आ गया. Abundant tortoise का. Okay, the Galapagos Island. Now the Galapagos Island was almost 900 miles off the mainland. It's quite far off in the Pacific Ocean. बहुत दूर था. So Darwin was exploring all the organisms, and the interest of Darwin was in a very special bird by the name of finch. Right? Darwin's finches are very, very famous. Now finch was a bird from mainland. Finch was already available on the mainland also. तो उसने देखा finch यहाँ पर भी है. So when he explored different parts of the island, he found there were different types of finches available. And in some major difference था was the structure of the beak. So in some of them the beak was modified to pick up worms. In some of them the beak was modified to pick up seeds, modified to pick up grass. Right now, any the changes in the species were nothing but alteration in the beak. So that got him thinking that एक ही island पे how can there be so many different species of the same character with finch only? इतने अलग-अलग. So how do speciation, how does formation of species occur? That is why the book which he had written, it was titled as Origin of Species. उसका जो matter था was origin of species. So it was on the island of Galapagos and the observation of finch that got him thinking. And then later on gradually he formulated his theory. Now he was in touch, in contact with a person by the name of Alfred Wallace, who shared the same ideas. Right now? And in fact together they formulated this entire theory, but unfortunately he got buried in history. And today it is more known as Darwin's theory of evolution. ठीक है ना? In fact उसके book में उसने उसको credit भी दिया है. They were honest people. Okay. Now what are the steps in Darwin's theory? Right? See, I'll try to put forth the entire theory in very easy, simple terms for us to understand, and then we'll see the difficult language which NCERT has used and try to correlate both of them. The understanding of the theory of Darwin is very important, please. The understanding of the theory. Rather than writing, please focus on what the theory is about. I'll give you time to write, I'll give you a proper image from which you can copy it down, right? But first please understand the theory. Now Darwin's theory, Darwin के theory का first point, any guesses? Darwin का favorite point? Reproduction. Fitness according to Darwin is nothing but reproductive fitness. Now according to Darwin, every organism has got high reproductive potential. Biotic potential term किया था हम लोग ने, right? तो बोले हर एक organism का biotic potential high होता है और ना मतलब वो reproduce ज़्यादा कर सकता है, ठीक है? अब उसने as an example जो सबसे slowest breeder है elephant, उसका example लिया उसने. Elephant का जो gestation period है it's around 22 to 24 months, 2 years, and the longevity of the elephant is also very big, about 100 to 150 years. So the population of the elephant takes a very long time to develop. So उसने calculate करके दिखाया कि in a matter of 40-50 years it can reach millions. Even a slow breeding animal can have such a large population. तो what about the others? सोचने वाला कि population, reproduction potential, the prodigality, the rate of reproduction, the potential of reproduction of every organism is very high. Point number 2. Now point number 2, he borrowed it from a friend. Thomas Malthus. Right? लेकिन इंटरेस्टिंगली थॉमस मैल्थस का साइंस से कोई लेना देना नहीं था. He was an economist, right? Now Thomas Malthus was writing an essay on populations and relating that to availability of food. उसका वो subject of interest था. And he concluded in his essay on that population that food production always is growing in arithmetic progression, but populations, they grow in geometric progressions. So food production under no circumstances can match with population. That means food always will be short because of the APGP difference. दोनों में हमेशा difference तो रहेगा ही. So this was the point which was taken up by Darwin. ठीक है. So second, उसने बोला resources जो है will always be limiting. भाई अर्थ तो उतना ही कांस्टेंट है, तो अवेलेबल लैंड उतना ही रहने वाला है. एंड थॉमस से बोरो क्या किया, फूड भी लिमिटिंग रहेगा, यानी जितना पॉपुलेशन रहेगा फूड उससे हमेशा कम रहेगा. सो रिसोर्सेज हमेशा से लिमिटिंग ही रहेंगे. अगर रिप्रोडक्शन का रेट हाई है लेकिन रिसोर्सेज लिमिटिंग है, विल दिस क्रिएट अ स्ट्रगल फॉर एग्जिस्टेंस? In other words, we are saying competition. Right? This will create struggle for existence. Right? Don't search for that. वो नहीं लिखा हुआ है कुछ भी. We'll come to it. Don't worry. I said we'll read the essay. Now this struggle is of three types. It's a intraspecific struggle between members of the same species. Interspecific struggle, members of different species. And extraspecific struggle between species and environment. उसको extraspecific बोलते हैं. So, population chapter में क्या था? Interspecific competition is a means for organic evolution. ठीक है ना? So, ये तीन टाइप के स्ट्रगल है. अब some of the organisms will be able to overcome this struggle, where some of them will not be able to overcome this struggle. So that gets us to point number 4, survival of the fittest. Now, if you see how smoothly the theory is going, it is very much appealing to the logic. इसमें कहीं भी कोई हम लोग ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं ले सकते. What he is saying is perfectly logical, right? So struggle for existence हो गया, उसकी वजह से सर्वाइवल ऑफ फिटेस्ट है. नाउ इसके बीच में अपने थियरी के बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स है, प्लीज ध्यान देना. लेट अस से we have two organisms A and B of the same species. Both are facing struggle. Both are facing the same struggle. But A is able to overcome the struggle, B is not able to overcome the struggle. A successful है, B successful नहीं है. अगर struggle same है, अगर species same है, और एक सक्सेसफुल और एक सक्सेसफुल नहीं है, दैट मीन्स डेफिनेटली ए के पास ऐसा कुछ है जो बी के पास नहीं है, राइट? सो दैट मीन्स बीइंग मेंबर्स ऑफ द सेम स्पीशीज, स्टिल ए एंड बी आर डिफरेंट. Members, being members of the same species, are we members of the same species? Yes. Still we are different among them. So the difference between two of them is called as variation. इन दोनों के जो डिफरेंस है वेरिएशन. अब हमारे बीच में डिफरेंस क्या है? वेरिएशन. Isn't it? Is variation the difference between us and our parents? Between us and our siblings? Between two twins? Is variation existing? Yes. तो बोले members of the same species के बीच में variation है. That means A has a favorable variation, whereas B has an unfavorable variation. Using the favorable variation, A is able to overcome the struggle. B is not able to overcome the struggle because it does not have that variation. Now what Darwin says was, these variations are very small. छोटे छोटे variation but है. These variations are inherited. These variations are inherited. Let's say we have generation number 1, characters X. He says generation number 2 will have X plus 1. छोटा सा variation. छोटा सा variation enough to differentiate it from the two. But इतना बड़ा नहीं कि भाई दोनों अलग अलग species है. नहीं, इतना बड़ा variation नहीं. लेकिन हर generation में थोड़ा थोड़ा favorable variation accumulate होता जाएगा. तो जब हम लोग जनरेशन 100 पे पहुंचेंगे तो क्या ये x plus 99 हो जाएगा? लेकिन अब इतने सारे वेरिएशंस एक्यूमुलेट हो चुके हैं कि नाउ वी कैन से दैट दिस इज अ डिफरेंट स्पीशीज फ्रॉम द ओरिजिनल वन नाउ. सो accumulation of favorable variations over a period of time will lead to formation of a new species. So according to Darwin, the process of species formation is what? Slow or fast? Slow, not slow, very slow. एवोल्यूशन के टर्म्स में ग्रेजुअल. ग्रेजुअल मतलब मिलियंस ऑफ इयर्स. आई विल गेट द थ्योरी नाउ प्लीज. सो पहला पॉइंट था रिप्रोडक्शन, फिर शॉर्टेज ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, दैट लीडिंग टू स्ट्रगल फॉर एग्जिस्टेंस. जिसमें वेरिएशन रहेगा वो ओवरकम करेगा, वेरिएशन नहीं रहेगा वो एक्सटिंक्ट हो जाएगा. ठीक है. नाउ डार्विन का मेन फोकस था आर. कौन सा फिटनेस? रिप्रोडक्टिव फिटनेस. सो डार्विन सेड देखो जिसका रिप्रोडक्शन रेट ज्यादा रहेगा ना उसके चांसेस है वो प्रोजेनी ज्यादा छोड़ेगा. राइट. तो अगर ये फेवरेबल है तो इसका रिप्रोडक्टिव रेट आर है. राइट. क्योंकि कंडीशंस उसके रिप्रोडक्शन के लिए फेवरेबल है तो वो ज्यादा ब्रीड करेगा, ज्यादा प्रोजेनी छोड़ेगा. तो चांसेस है कि वो सरवाइव करेगा और ये एक्सटिंक्ट हो जाएगा. राइट. नाउ पॉइंट नंबर 5 विच इज द बिगेस्ट स्टम्बलिंग ब्लॉक ऑफ दिस थ्योरी. राइट. यहां तक थ्योरी एकदम समझ होगी, कोई ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं, फैंटास्टिक. राइट. एक जन ने खड़े होकर पूछ लिया वो योर थ्योरी इज फैंटास्टिक, मजा आ गया एकदम. राइट. लेकिन ये दो स्पीशीज के बीच में वेरिएशन आया कहां से? भाई स्पीशीज तो दोनों सेम है. भाई वेरिएशन भाई व्हाई वन हैविंग फेवरेबल वन हैविंग अनफेवरेबल? डार्विन अटक गया यहां पे. डार्विन कुड नॉट आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन एंड कन्वीनियंटली ही पुट द ब्लेम ऑन नेचर. He says nature will select who has to survive and who has to die. So that's why the theory is called as theory of natural selection. एकदम अब समझ में आपने को कि why it is called as theory of natural selection. तो conveniently एथिस्ट था ना तो उसने गॉड की जगह उठा के नेचर को रख दिया. राइट. सो ही वाज ऑफ द ओपिनियन दैट वेरिएशन है. राइट ना. बट ये वेरिएशन कहां से आ रहा है ही कुड नॉट टेल. He could not tell from where variation is coming. Right? So that was the block which he could not overcome while giving his theory. Right? Now to write down Darwin's theory now. Yes.
The formation of new species is what occurred in the reptiles and birds case.
Yes. ये देखो. So very small and sweet way to write down Darwinism. Reproduction rate high, बीच में रिसोर्सेज लिमिटेड आ गया तो क्या हो जाएगा? स्ट्रगल फॉर एग्जिस्टेंस. नाउ दिस स्ट्रगल इज बेस्ड ऑन वेरिएशन. वेरिएशंस कैन बी ऑफ टू टाइप्स, अनफेवरेबल और फेवरेबल. अनफेवरेबल रहेगा तो एलिमिनेट, फेवरेबल रहेगा तो सर्वाइव करेगा. सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट. अब यही वेरिएशन क्या होगा? इनहेरिट होगा. इनहेरिट होके क्या होगा? अक्यूमुलेट होगा. अक्यूमुलेट होके क्या होगा? न्यू स्पीशीज बनेगा. एंड दिस विल डिपेंड ऑन होम?
Natural selection.
ठीक है, राइट दिस डाउन प्लीज. बोलो क्या हो गया?
एक स्पेसिफिक डेस्टिनेशन के बाद ही हम बोलेंगे ना कि ये डेस्टिनेशन उसके डायरेक्ट हम एक ही
between like in one species only variation.
So the unfavorable situation due to species.
Elimination.
I can't just be proven. For example, we take an organism with a short lifespan and observe it for a lot of generations and keep them under certain conditions.
That is what Mendel did, na? Studied properties of inheritance.
Why is it preferred as theory?
But still objections are there against it. That's it.
So should we like remarks here?
Lemmas is mentioned in the book. We will just go to the NCERT text also to read that.
If an organism has both favorable and unfavorable variation, then in that step only the favorable will pass ahead.
Yeah.
But how is that considered?
That's the loophole in the page number 134, or should I, yes, we'll read this first, and then we can see if we can do something else. On page 134, the last two lines, if you see, please. Even before Darwin, a French naturalist, Lamarck, had said that evolution of life forms had occurred, but driven by use and disuse of organs. He gave the examples of giraffe, who in an attempt to forage leaves, forage eat, on tall trees, had to adapt by elongation of their necks, and as they passed on this acquired character, क्या लिखा है? Inheritance of acquired character, right, to succeeding generations. So they came to acquire long necks. Nobody believes this conjecture anymore. Now, Darwin used the same example to put forth this theory. Darwin said कि भैया, what did Lamarck say? That सारे के सारे जो जिराफ थे वो छोटे साइज के थे, और फिर वो elongate हो गए, बड़े हो गए. He says नहीं, दो टाइप के जिराफ थे, एक tall, एक short. When they migrated, will the taller have a favorable variation to reach the leaves now? And the shorter ones will not have that favorable variation. So what happened is, that's why they became extinct. And the favorable ones persisted and then developed. So this is about Lamarck. We can just go back to what Darwin said. Yes, moving back and forth is characteristic of evolution, don't worry. Yes, यहाँ पर we had done up till this 4,000-year-old statement यहाँ पे किया था हमने, the religious creation theory, बराबर ना? अब उसके आगे, all these ideas were strongly challenged during the 19th century based on observation made during a sea voyage in a sail ship called HMS Beagle. Charles Darwin concluded that, please, I request your complete attention towards this text. The text is so slippery that our attempts to understand assertion, reason, true and false statements sometimes will fall flat on our face if we don't understand what is written over here. Please, मैंने ये पूरी चीज बहुत सिंपल वे में एक्सप्लेन किया आपको, और यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लेक्स वे में दिया हुआ है. So please, Darwin concluded that existing living forms share similarities to varying degrees. Let's say, for example, we have got three living forms, A, B and C. He says that they share similarities amongst themselves, but the degree of similarity is different. So A can share, let's say, a 20% similarity with a B. B to C, let's say, can be a 10% similarity, but A to C can be a 50% similarity. So they are sharing similarities, but उनकी जो percentage of sharing है can be different, not only among themselves, but also with the life forms that were existing millions of years ago. So all this, are they trying to say that moving towards a common ancestry? That means वहाँ से सब कुछ डेवलप हुआ है, वहाँ से सारे स्पीशीज डेवलप हुए हैं, इसलिए वो सिमिलैरिटी आ रही है अभी भी. ठीक है? So I'll read this again. Existing living forms share similarities among themselves to different degrees, not only among themselves but those which were existing millions of years ago. Many such life forms do not exist anymore. They are not existing anymore. There had been extinctions of different life forms in years gone by, as new forms of life will arise at different periods of history of Earth. Have we come across something in biodiversity as sixth period of extinction? Right now, so there have been 5 periods of major extinction. We are right now in the 6th period of extinction. So
when you talk of extinction, ये जितने organisms थे सब extinct हो गए थे, and certain life forms have become extinct permanently. So, for example, dinosaurs have been extinct permanently. गए वो लोग. But fishes and amphibians which were formed before dinosaurs were still existing.